Hey guys, a lot of you have been asking questions about Polly and her life story, her training journey, where I met her, how we came to have found each other and be together, and why she's on the training journey she's on now. So I decided that it was time to sit down and share with you Polly's story.
Editing Cat interjecting here really quick just to say, I did not realize as I was filming this, even though I was filming it with the front-facing camera, that my hat is like tilted to one side. Like it is off center, it is skewed to the side for the entire video. Like not for a couple minutes, no. The entire freaking video. And it is pissing me off as I'm watching it. Like it's just one of those things. Like I am the person who like things have to be centered or it has to be like sitting in this exact way. So it is really bugging me. Hopefully it does not bug you. If you're watching this video and you're like, oh my god, her hat is off center and it's bugging me. Yeah, it's bugging me too. Just maybe listen to it and turn off the video. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I was planning to actually be able to sit down with Polly, like have Polly in the background for this, but it is another 30-degree day, although it was not when I woke up this morning. When I woke up this morning it was 18 degrees and right now it's about 30. So I am sitting in the one shaded part of her paddock. I can see her. She's in my line of view. But unless she decides to come over here, we're gonna be on our own. So I did get a few questions about Polly that I figured I would just answer off the bat, and then some of them will kind of get answered as I tell her story. But first off being, how old is Polly? We don't technically know how old she is. When I had the vet do the PPE before I bought her, the vet gave me a 3-year age range, and so we decided to go right in the middle because younger is better for insurance, but we didn't want to go like all the way on the young side. We wanted to be as accurate as possible, so we went right in the middle. And going off of that, Polly is 16 years old, and she just had her birthday, or her gotcha day was a couple weeks ago. If you want to see her gotcha day birthday vlog, I will have that linked up here and in the description so you can see it. How tall is Polly? When I bought her, I was told that she is 17.3 hands. But then when I moved her to where we are now, and I met the owner of another draft horse, she said that her draft horse was 17.1, and her horse is taller than Polly. So I don't know which one of us is right and which one of us is wrong, or maybe we're both wrong, I don't know. But if I like stand next to Polly, I'm about 5'4", and when I stand next to Polly, it looks like to her withers she's got at least an inch on me, so that would put her at around 17.2. She's somewhere between 17.1 and 17.3. I need to actually measure her, but it's just never been a priority. How did Polly get her name? So as far as I know, so I'm gonna go through all of her homes and everything, but the one home, which was a family when she was a family trail horse, when they bought her, her name was Rosie, and I know this because I've been in on and off contact with one of the daughters from that family, and she told me that when they got her, her name was Rosie, but they had a dog whose name was also Rosie, and so they changed her name to Polly. And I think Polly definitely suits her more than Rosie does. So as far as I'm aware, Rosie would have been her first name, but I don't know. But Polly has been her name since then. Does she have a sense of humor? I'm convinced some horses do. I know what you mean about horses having a sense of humor. I definitely think there are horses that do like find things funny. I don't think Polly is one of them. I think Polly just happens to like to do certain things that then can be perceived as funny. I think Polly just knows what she wants when she wants it, and she will try to get what she wants whenever she can. The next question was, has she ever had a foal, and if so, do you know who the sire is? So we're gonna get to that part of her story, but yes, she has. As far as we're aware, we know that she's definitely had 2 babies, one of which I was present for, but she's potentially had more just based off of her body. For the baby that I was present for, I do know that foal's sire. I'm not sharing that publicly just because of the circumstances. Like the sire is owned by the person who used to own Polly, and so it just kind of like it shares more about where I'm located than I would like to, if you know what I mean. Like I share that I live in Southern Ontario, but I don't share the town that I live in or anything like that. It's a little bit too, I don't really want to share that much about where I'm from. But the sire of her baby was an Andalusian. So I guess let's get into her story. So this is all going off of the information that I have from my former coach, which is who I bought Polly from, and then the daughter from the family who had her prior to that. That's where all of this information is coming from. It might not be 100% accurate, but I can only share what I know. So as far as I'm aware, Polly's life started out on an old order Mennonite farm. She was most likely either bred on the farm that she worked on, or she was probably purchased from another member of the community, because that just tends to be how things work in the old order community and on their farms. On that farm, she was a working horse, either doing plowing or logging or some combination of the two. She most likely had at least one baby on that property based off of what her body looked like when she got to the farm where I met her. That was like, yeah, she's probably had at least one baby before, which would make sense again for being on a Mennonite farm. If she was a good workhorse, which I'm guessing she probably was, then they would have wanted to breed her so that they could have another one when she inevitably couldn't work anymore. Unfortunately, that day, the day that she couldn't work anymore, came faster than they wanted, and one day she was no longer fully sound and was sent to auction. And we don't know exactly what it was that made her unable to work, but my vet and I have a theory, and that theory has to do with her hind left leg, which I have mentioned before. We believe there to be a mild arthritis in that hock, and she's actually getting x-rays in a couple weeks to look at that. Or is it next week? I think it's next week.
Okay, future cat in the editing stage here. Polly had her x-rays this morning, and what we found is that what we believe to be a mild arthritis is actually a severe arthritis of her left hock, which is obviously not what we were hoping to find, but you know, we know now what's going on, and so we have started out on a treatment plan to find what's going to work best for her. I'm not going to go over all of it right now. I'm actually going to make a video on it, on what's going on with her, just so that you guys know. But we are on the right track to finding what's going to work best for her. I do think that at the time when I met Polly, it was a mild arthritis, but now it has progressed to a severe arthritis, which honestly is not all that surprising considering Polly and her life. But you guys will learn more about her life right now.
But we've always kind of thought that was there. Like, my old coach thought that was present, even though she never had an x-ray to confirm it, just based off of her movement. And on that hock and the inside of the leg, you can see that it is just completely covered in scar tissue buildup. Like, it's covered in scar tissue. It has marks all over it. That hock is not significantly, but that hock is bigger than her right hock, and it always has been. And so my vet and I think that it's possible that she got her leg caught in a fence or in harness equipment of some sort, or, you know, some sort of injury equivalent to that, and that caused her to no longer be able to work, and so she was sent to auction. At auction, she was purchased by a tradesman. That is the word that I have been given, was tradesman, so not a horse trainer, which I think is where probably a lot of her problems stem from. And he was the one who trained her to be ridden. Now, based off of how she was at her next home, and then based off how she was at the following home where I met her, it's clear that none of the riding training was really done properly, and that there were definitely gaps in it. So that's why the tradesman word makes sense to me. That's the word that I've been given, and it makes sense that he was not an actual horse trainer. So the tradesman trained her under saddle and then sold her to a lovely family where they bought her to be a trail horse for the mom of that family. But they quickly realized that she was too much for the mom, and she didn't always listen. She had her strong opinions, and you couldn't really convince her otherwise, though Polly, not the mom. And so she was too much for the mom, and so then one of the daughters of the family, started riding her instead, and did trails on her, walk, trot, canter, apparently even jumped her up to 2 foot, which I'm shocked that Polly was able to do that. I guess it's like, for her height, it's not that high, but just like based off of like how I've always seen her, it's never something that I will have her do, because I don't think it's necessarily something she should have done in the first place, just based off of her build. Like, there are some draft horses that have a lighter build, and so it's safe for them to jump. But regardless, apparently she's pretty good for that. But she had training issues, she had gaps in her training, and she was too much for them, and they didn't really know what to do, like how to help her through it or how to improve things, so they had to sell her. I do want to make it really, really clear that family, they loved her. Like, they still love her, but they loved her so much, and it really broke their hearts to have to sell her, but they didn't know what to do with her, which I can really appreciate, because to be fair, I've been working with a professional trainer for 1.5 years to get her to where she is now. They really loved her. And I want that to be really clear as I talk about the bad things that have happened in Polly's life. I think a lot of the bad things, most of the bad things, happened prior to that family getting her. And I'm not going to speculate like too much about which of the prior homes it was. My guess, like, probably some sort of mix of the two. But that family, they really truly loved her. And so they sold her to my former coach, to the lesson barn where I was riding and working. And so my coach bought her as a beginner lesson horse for like large beginners, so people who needed a bigger horse. When I first saw that she arrived, I was like, oh, that's cool, that's like the biggest horse I've ever seen. And one of my friends was like, oh, she's really friendly, you should go say hi, go meet her. And I went out into the fields to go say hi, and Polly was like, absolutely not, I am walking away. And I was like, oh, okay, lovely. I didn't think much of it. I didn't have like super crazy interest in her, which is kind of funny because like in that moment, I never would have thought that was the horse that I was going to end up like falling in love with, like was my heart horse and would end up buying and like owning. One of my friends who was good 4 or 5 years older than me, she was the one who was in charge of like putting miles on her and like getting her kind of trained up, ready to go into the lesson program. And there was one day when she was absolutely just exhausted, but she had to ride Polly, and I was like, well, you know what, if you're tired, don't worry about it, I've got work hours, I can ride her. And so I did, and something about her just kind of intrigued me, and I wasn't sure what it was, but I was like, there's something about you. And so I chose to ride her again. And I started realizing, of course there were gaps, but I also started realizing pretty quickly that what intrigued me about her was that she was like no horse that I'd ever met, because she was not a horse. Honestly, that's the best way I can describe it. She was completely shut down. You know how sorry, there's bugs crawling all over me. You know how when you stand next to an animal or another person, you can kind of feel their energy, like you stand next to them, and whether you can see them or not, there's a living thing next to me. You didn't feel that with Polly. There was nothing. There's no energy coming off of her. She had the most dead eyes I had ever seen. There was no life behind her eyes, nothing. It was like there's no brain behind there, there's no life there, absolutely nothing. And that combined with some of her behavior, I was talking with one of my friends who at the time knew significantly more about horse behavior than I did, and she said, well, to me that sounds like she's in a state of learned helplessness. And so I went home, I researched it, read all up on it, and I was like, that's exactly what's happening here. And when I learned what that meant, I felt kind of a kinship with her. I related to her in many ways because, the sense of feeling helpless and just emotionally numb and having trauma there, I really related to that. Because at the time when I met Polly, I was in one of the worst depressions of my entire life. I was 16 years old, and I was on suicide watch. I was not allowed to be home alone. My bedroom door was not allowed to be closed. Like, my parents knew every aspect of what was happening in my day because I couldn't really be alone. And so I really felt a connection to Polly through that, and so I decided that she was a horse that I needed to help. And so I asked my coach, can I kind of take over, putting the miles on her, training her up, and she said, go ahead. And so I did, and so I started kind of bringing her out of her shell. And around that point, she actually was bred. So that's when she was bred there for the home breeding program. She was bred to an Andalusian stallion. So most of the time that I spent riding her was when she was pregnant. Around kind of end of the summer, early fall, I started co-boarding her because I loved her so much, and I started putting a lot more time into riding her, even though like when I was riding other horses, I was riding at a much higher level than Polly was capable of doing, and at a much higher level than Polly will ever be capable of doing. And so a lot of people ask me like, do you really want to ride her in your lessons, like, because she's going to hold you back? And I was like, well, yeah, because I love her and I want to help her get to where she can be. And I'd kind of realized around that fall that I didn't really want to be at that barn anymore because there were a lot of things I didn't agree with that happened there. Certain treatment that was also put onto Polly that I think contributed to some of her mental issues. Of course, she was shut down when she got there, but there was treatment towards Polly that I did not agree with, and I do not agree with for any horse. Also, the barn was really far away from my house, so I didn't really want to be there anymore, but I had built this connection with Polly, and I didn't want to leave her, and so I stayed. And around December, I mentioned to my parents once, like, I would love to maybe buy her someday, and they thought, oh, like, yeah, that would be really cool, but I don't think they really took it seriously. And then after a couple months, like, they had, heard my breakdowns about Polly, about the barn I was at, and they saw how much working with Polly was helping me mentally and emotionally, and also like how much it was teaching me and how much I was going out of my way to learn things. And I think that's when they probably really realized that it wasn't just that I loved horses, but that I had a passion for equine behavior and equine sciences and improving equine welfare. I think that's probably when like my deep passion for those things started, was through Polly and seeing what she had experienced. And so they said, well, you know what, we would actually be willing to buy Polly for you if your coach would let her go. And so we approached my coach, and she had a hard time deciding, because of course Polly was valuable to the lesson program, because at the time she was bomb-proof. Really, she was shut down, but she was essentially bomb-proof, and it's hard to find bomb-proof horses that are good for large beginners. So like, we knew that was gonna be a hard decision for her, but she ended up agreeing. We negotiated and we signed a contract that said that once Polly had given birth that I could buy her, but obviously I wouldn't be able to move her until the baby was weaned. And so she had her baby, and I loved that baby. I love that baby so much, and I haven't seen him in years, and I really miss him. He's not there anymore. He was actually bought by somebody else, but that baby, I bonded to that baby. It's like so deeply. Like, I would walk into the fields and I would go sit in the hay, and he would literally see me from across the fields, and he would run over, plop down on the ground in front of me, and lean back into my lap to sleep. Like, that was the bond that I had with that baby. Normally, I would never ever recommend weaning a mare and a foal before the 6-month period. Never. And that's like earliest. But Polly was not only nursing her baby, she was nursing the other baby that had been born to another horse that year. And so they were all in the same paddock together. And the other baby just preferred her, and Polly didn't say no. So she was nursing both of them, and she started dropping weight like crazy. And I was getting really concerned, and I was consulting with my vet, and my vet was helping me, like put together what she should be eating and all of that. And we were like shoveling calories into her, and she could not put weight on. And it got to the point where my vet estimated that she was probably around 400 pounds underweight, which is incredibly dangerous. And so I had asked if she could be separated from the other baby that was not hers, and the answer was that there was nowhere else to put the baby, and so she was still nursing the two of them. And so I had to kind of make an ultimatum and say, hey, look, I'm leaving on this day, and I'm 17, I know nothing about weaning horses, you do. I'm gonna leave it up to you to make the plan that's gonna be best for both of them. In hindsight, that was not a smart move. The weaning process was not a process, and it was incredibly traumatic for both Polly and her baby. And it was the most traumatic thing that I have not only witnessed, but was a part of. Because getting Polly onto that trailer, like, had the person trailering for me not stepped in to load her, she would not have gotten on that trailer, and I most likely would have been maimed, if not worse, from what was happening. That was, every time I think about it, I get very emotional, because I hate that I did that to Polly, but we could not get weight on her, and had she stayed like to 6 months, I don't know if there would have been a horse to move, honestly, from the way that she was just dropping weight and we could not get weight on. And of course at the time I didn't know anything about like the mental and emotional side effects of early weaning and artificial weaning. I do now, but even when I look back, I don't know if I could have made a different decision, even if I had the knowledge then that I do now, because like what was I gonna do, let my horse starve? So I don't think I could have made a different decision, but I still hate that I had to do that to Polly, because truly I have never witnessed anything so traumatic, and when I think about it I get so emotional. And I truly think that event psychologically scarred Polly in ways that I don't think she'll ever fully recover from. I think that there will always be an aspect of her that defaults to shutting down and defaults to panic. I don't think she'll ever be a chill, relaxed horse. I think she can be a safe horse, but I don't think she can ever be like that's the chill, lesson veteran who doesn't, care about anything. I don't think she'll ever be that horse. And I think a lot of that comes from that day, because the panic and fear that I witnessed in Polly that day is something I hope to never have to see in her again. Something I hope to never have to see in any horse ever again. I think she recovered from a lot of that day, but I think that there are parts of her that are mentally and emotionally damaged in ways that she's just never fully going to recover from. But I moved her to where we are now, and we've been here for, I think it will be 3 years as of October, and we love it here. This barn is, almost the perfect place for her. The only thing that would make it better is if there was dry lot on the property, because honestly she would do best on dry lot or part-time dry lot, part-time pasture. But she's in this massive, I think I did the math using like a Google Maps measuring tool, that I think her paddock is technically about 2 acres or 2.5 acres, something like that. Like large open pasture. She's got a field shelter. She has automatic water. She always has hay at her disposal. Sorry, I'm looking at them right now. The arena is beautiful. The cross tie, like tack up area is beautiful. I have a great tack locker, a heated and air conditioned lounge. The barns are amazing. Like I get access to everything even though I'm on outdoor board, and the people here, the boarders, the staff are all lovely. We absolutely love it here, and she has really started to thrive here. When I first moved her here, she was on quarantine for 2 weeks, and so I didn't take her anywhere. And then when I started trying to like take her up the hill to the arena, she would not go. She would plant her feet. She would refuse. And she started becoming incredibly heavy on the halter. I couldn't lead her anywhere. I couldn't get her to do anything. And oh, hi butterfly. And I spent the first year trying to train her completely on my own because I felt like I had to. I was like, this is the horse that I saved. This is the horse that I'm working with. I have to be the one to make her better. And there's also, I just think there's sometimes online in the equestrian spaces, you'll get these groups of people who it's like, if you bought versus built, then you're like inherently not as good of an equestrian, or like your relationship with your horse doesn't mean as much, which personally I think is BS. Buying versus building, who gives a crap? Doesn't matter. If your horse loves you, your horse loves you. If your horse trusts you, your horse trusts you. But I felt like I had to be the one to do it. And then I realized that I was completely out of my depths because this horse would, and I think part of this comes from the psychological damage that happened from her weaning, was you could not get her to walk anywhere. She would drag you to the grass. She would try to stomp on your feet. If you tried to pick up her feet, like you couldn't pick up her feet. She started bolting, and I got dragged a lot. And so I started working with a positive reinforcement clicker trainer, and she did help me with a few things, but she was really busy and lived far away, so it was hard to get her out here regularly. I think just at the time we needed a different approach, because while I love positive reinforcement and I use clicker training a lot, I mean, I literally still have my treat pouch on right now, I think that there are certain situations in which it's not the way to go, because when you're dealing with a horse that bolts, you can't just wait for the horse to decide not to bolt and then reward it. For Polly, if she was going to bolt, she's going to bolt. So we had to use a different training method. Was never punishment, was never harmful, but we had to do more of the negative reinforcement, pressure and release, which I think every horse should be accustomed to. Then I was without a trainer again for another good 6 months or so, and I was just completely out of my depths. Every once in a while I'd be able to get her up to the arena, but she would freak out. We'd have all of these problems. Like there was nothing about her that was like trained, apart from the fact that she could wear a halter. There was like nothing else, except at that point she knew cues for walk on, whoa, and she was okay with picking up her feet, but like nothing. And so I hadn't ridden her in like 1.5 years at this point, and I'd like sat on her, but it wasn't riding. And I was having mental breakdown after mental breakdown, and I was at the point where I felt like maybe I needed to sell her, not because I didn't want her, but because I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help her. She is anxious, she is scared, she's terrified constantly. I felt like I was making her worse, and I felt like maybe she needed to be with somebody who knew what to do. But then my dad swooped in, saved the day, Super Mark, and he found a trainer who did natural horsemanship training. And I know that there's a lot of like discourse about natural horsemanship. I think it really depends on your definition of it, because everyone I ask seems to have a different definition of natural horsemanship. From what my trainer does, it's pretty much classic negative reinforcement, pressure and release, though she does use like positive reinforcement in like scratches and verbal praise like quite often. Like she's the first person to say always reward the try, and she's super good to have me incorporate clicker training into our program as well. And she has helped me develop an even deeper understanding of Polly and the way that she's thinking and the way that she works, and I've learned so much from her, like absolutely so much, and she has helped build my passion of horse training and like behavioral modification. She's absolutely amazing. We would not be where we are now without her, and we've been working with her for the past 1.5 years. And oh, there's bugs on the underside of my hat. And last summer we actually had her back to riding on a lead, but we had her back to riding, and she was doing so well with everything. And then in the fall I had an appointment with a saddle fitter, and that day took her up to the arena, or like we walked up to outside of the arena, and she spooked at something, and I was handling the spook, but then I tripped where the gravel road met the paved road, and in that moment she took off. It was the first time she'd bolted in months, and I was like, because I was still holding on, I got jerked forward, and in those like 2 like seconds I was trying to like desperately trying to get my feet underneath of me, failed, hit the ground, instinctively let go of the rope, but because Polly had taken off at a gallop, the amount of like the force with which I was yanked forward, I smacked across onto the pavement, but like slid, like I went flying across the pavement, skidded across the road on the left side of my body and rolled over the shoulder into the grassy ditch on the other side. And that day set us back almost to square one. Not maybe like if we're looking on like a 10 square or 10 step thing, maybe we were back to square 2 or 3 of where we had been. And not only did it set her back, but it completely destroyed my confidence. Like 100% destroyed all of my confidence. And I was also physically injured, so I couldn't really handle her more than just bringing her out of her field to eat for like a good month. And so my trainer took over pretty much everything for a long time. And then we've been working really, really hard over the past 8 months or so, to the point where a couple weeks ago I got on her for the first time in 8 months. I think first time since the fall. And we did a few days, and we've actually even started in the arena doing sessions where I'm riding and she's actually not on a lead, which is incredible. And today we had her up in the arena, and we were doing some body work because she's been having a lot of stiffness, and we think she's got a chiro appointment in a couple weeks, and she's gonna get a massage. She's got a saddle fitter coming out. She's getting the vet for x-rays. We're gonna figure out what's going on with her body, because there's definitely pain and discomfort somewhere, but we're just not really sure where the root of it is. We're gonna figure that out. But we had her in there doing body work and like doing some desensitizing stuff. She was sniffing around with the like the muck buckets. She met the yoga ball today for the first time, and then we also took her into the small barn, which she has not been in for months and months, because she's gonna have to go in there to get her teeth done in a month or 2. And she was great. She did so great. And so a lot of people who knew Polly back when Polly was at the old place, they were like, oh, well, how have you not been riding if you were riding her then? And I'm like, well, the riding her then was pretty much like it was impossible, not impossible, but it was really hard to get like forward momentum out of her, and you'd have to like yank her around by her face. So that wasn't like good riding. I did realize at the time though, back then, that she steered a lot better off of seat, so I ended up riding her bareback most of the time. I'm like, guys, here's the thing, like I pulled this horse out of learned helplessness, and it turned out she was not bomb-proof or calm. She was just shut down. And so while I think that the weaning and the move caused a lot of trauma that then added to the problems, I think really it was just that we were seeing the anxiety for the first time. I don't think it was new. I think she was always feeling it, and I gave her a space where she felt comfortable enough to show it. Which, as much as I hated having to deal with the anxiety, because it was really, really hard to work her through it, I'm glad that she felt comfortable enough to show me, because it would have sucked if I just had a shut down, depressed horse for the rest of its life. I want her to feel happy, I want her to feel healthy and confident, and I want her to always feel like she can tell me when she doesn't feel like she can do something, or when she's scared, when she's upset, when she's in pain. She needs to be able to tell me so that I can help make things better. So that's been about 30 minutes of me rambling, but I think that is pretty much everything. I mean, at an overview, like there are details about, oh, we accomplished this, and then this happened, and then this happened, like, but for the purposes of knowing where she came from, that is Polly's life. And I know that there was a comment, someone commented on one of my shorts asking what happened to her, and then someone else responded to it giving what they think happened to Polly, which was not accurate. Polly did suffer abuse and neglect, which I do know that because of her mental state and because of some of the stuff that I witnessed. There was neglect that happened at the home where I found her. I mean, when I bought her, she hadn't had her feet done in 12 weeks. So I witnessed some of the mistreatment that put Polly into the state that she was in, but I did not witness most of it. So she was in learned helplessness when I met her, and so I don't know exactly what happened. I did not get her from a kill pen. I don't know where that idea came from. No hate to this commenter, I just want to clear it up. So because I've had people ask me, is she a rescue? She's not technically a rescue. I did buy her from a place where her needs were not being met, but she is not technically a rescue. So yeah, just clear all that up. But anyways, I'm so grateful that so many of you care about Polly and care about me and even wanted to know what her story was, because truly she has come so far, and I'm so proud of her. I'm proud of us, I'm proud of the work we have done together, but I am so proud of her, and I am so grateful to have her, and I'm so grateful that so many of you care about her and wanted to know, you know, what her story was, because she truly has been through so much, and I'm constantly amazed at what she's been able to accomplish. Oh my god, I'm getting covered in ants. Okay, I should probably go. Yeah, if you guys have any more questions about Polly and her life, let me know and I'll try to answer them in the comments. Thank you for being here for this this past year of me being on YouTube and going on this journey. It's been super fun. So if you want to see more videos of Polly, and we'll go see her in a second, let me know. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. Bye. Polly, say thank you for listening to my story. She's like, yeah, I really don't care, guys. I've got a really nice spot at the buffet here.